Embassy?
Because Nicola Roxon, after very reasonable requests made by my lawyer Jennifer Robinson to her in a half-an-hour meeting, and following reasonable requests by one of the most celebrated human rights lawyers who represents me here in the UK, Gareth Pearce, asking them to ask for very simple conditions of the Swedes in the United States, such as that if I was imprisoned in the United States and I could serve my sentence in Australia, refused any of those requests, refused to consult in any extradition to the United States, refused to be involved in any of those discussions, refused to ask that the Swedes come and solve this matter by simply speaking to me in the UK, etc. So this is an effective declaration of abandonment. There is not a single matter of concern under which the Australian government, as represented by the Attorney General, would ask other governments to be reasonable or just in this case.
Again, I put that to the Attorney General yesterday. Do you want to hear her? Let's hear her response.
Yeah.
I totally reject that he has been abandoned by the government. We've offered support to him through consular services. We've made representations to the British government, to the Swedish government, to the US government.
That's what the Attorney General said yesterday in terms of, and the government has also said that you have received as much or more consular support as anybody else has in matters like this.
Well, there is no matter like this at all. Everyone knows that. But, you know, maybe up until this recent case in Libya, maybe that's true even. The Australian government simply does not support its people. There's a journalist, Austin McCall, who's trapped in Egypt, and he also has exactly the same complaints that I have. These are empty words. When you hear this word consular assistance, I haven't met with anyone from the Australian High Commission since December 2010. What are they talking about?
So you've had no consular contact with the Australian High Commission since 2010?
They send SMS messages. Does Mr. Assange have any concerns? We know what this is for. This is so they can just tick off a box. And yes, we formally put our concerns to the Attorney General, and the response was dismissal in every single area.
And have you formally put to the Australian government, asked them to seek reassurances from the US about any plans to extradite you, and what those answers are?
Yes, we have formally put requests to Nicola Roxon and DFAT to ask that the United States, I can't remember the exact request, but for instance, the prisoner transfer arrangements and so on, and she rejected this in every single area. In relation to this sort of clever rhetoric that's being used at the moment, when they say that we have not received evidence from the United States that they plan to extradite. Of course not. At the moment, the matter is before the grand jury. Until it comes out of the grand jury, there will be no such evidence afforded. And you look at other questions of Gillard, for example, where the follow-up question is, to the Prime Minister. So, is there any indication from the US? Is there evidence from the US? Extradite Mr. Assange, and the Foreign Minister says, oh, no, of course not. Follow-up question, have you asked for any evidence? No.
So, Julian Assange, let's go to what's next for you. If Ecuador doesn't grant you asylum, what's Plan B?
Well, we're in a position to draw attention to what is happening. You know, the Department of Justice in the United States has been playing a little game. And that little game is that they refuse to confirm or deny the existence of a grand jury. And as a result, the press goes, oh, well, they don't confirm it, and therefore we can't really write about it. That's not true. There's public record everywhere. There's multiple witnesses everywhere. There's testimony in military courts about the existence of what is happening in these 48,000 pages, and that the founders and managers of WikiLeaks are amongst the subjects. So we hope that what I am doing now will simply draw attention to the underlying issues. In a case where the truth is on your side, what is most against you is lack of scrutiny. So, I welcome the lack of scrutiny. People should welcome the scrutiny. People should go to justiceforassange.com and they can read about some of these issues.
Okay.
And good journalists in Australia, such as Philip Dorling, who's been heroic in his exploration of the FOI traffic between Australia and the US, are also showing that there are serious issues here, and they are being hidden through the slimy rhetoric coming out of the US ambassador to Australia by Gillard and by the foreign minister, and that needs to stop.
Is scrutiny really what you're after here rather than a life and a future in Ecuador? What if you're granted political asylum? Are you ready for a life in Ecuador? And also back to that original question, do you think you'd ever make it there given what the British Metropolitan Police are threatening to apprehend you if you step foot outside the embassy?
Well, a life in Ecuador, I mean, these are friendly, generous people, is much better than a life behind bars in the United States under SAM's restrictions, which are Guantanamo Bay-like restrictions, which they routinely apply to people accused of espionage. Whereas you can't speak, can't communicate, because I might communicate some password or something. And this is a routine matter that is applied in these sorts of cases.
And in terms of a life in Ecuador, amongst warm and friendly people, no doubt they are, but Ecuador's justice system and record on free speech has been criticised by Human Rights Watch, Reporters Without Borders, Amnesty International. It seems ironic, really, that you, the founder of WikiLeaks, would be seeking protection in a country which is criticised as limiting free speech.
Well, its free speech issues are certainly no worse than the ones in the UK. I mean, this is a country with hundreds of secret gag orders, so let's keep things in perspective. I mean, I would enjoy campaigning for the rights of journalists in Ecuador. I mean, we're talking about...
Do you think you'd have the freedom to do that? I mean, the Human Rights Watch says journalists get locked up for doing that.
Oh, look, Human Rights Watch is based in New York. Ecuador has an issue with Chevron, which is a US company, and so on. There's been a lot of tussles between the US and Ecuador, which is one of the reasons why Ecuador, I presume, would be happy to grant me asylum, because they understand the difficulties when you square off with the United States.
Julian Assange, thank you very much for joining us on Breakfast.
Thank you, Fran.
Julian Assange is the founder of WikiLeaks. He's currently sought refuge in the Ecuadorian Embassy in London, where he's made an application for political asylum, and he's still waiting, as we heard, for that decision by Ecuador. And as he does, the world watches. You're listening to RM Breakfast. It's